Thank you for tuning in to Thoughts Expressed. I'm Debbie Mensa, and I'll be your host today. Today's discussion, we're going to be talking about diaspora wars and battles. And this conversation actually reminded me of another conversation that I had with my friend. So we're just chilling. She's asking, catching up, doing all types of stuff. And she brings up the conversation of reparations. And, she's asking me if whether or not I'm getting my reparations, or do I even think that we should get reparations? And of course, I'm like, yeah, of course we should get reparations, but I can't. And she's like, what do you mean? I said, I'm not Black. And of course, she kind of looks at me a little crazy. And she's like, what do you mean you're not Black? I say, I'm African. And this kind of like brings up, or like kind of leads into our discussion of diaspora wars and like battles, in a sense of like the separation between Black people, African people, and of course we have different like subregions of our diaspora, such as Jamaicans and Caribbeans. But it kind of just wants to like let us settle into that idea of like, even though we are technically united under one name, we are completely different. So we're going to come and continue our conversation a little bit, but we're going to take a brief break. You'll see our beautiful faces soon, I promise. We'll catch you in a little bit. So today I'm joined by these beautiful women. We're gonna introduce ourselves. So we're gonna say our first name, and then we're gonna go with our Instagram handle. So Amy, I'm gonna start off with you.
Hi, I'm Amy. My Instagram is Amy Afrakuma.
Hi, I'm Gifty, and my Instagram is PrettyDolly_.
Hi, I'm Elsie, and my Instagram is Elsie_Ejewa.
Hey, I'm Mikkel, and my Instagram is Mikkel.Usikokor.
I'm Rejoice. My Instagram is Rejoice_.
And I'm Debbie Mensa, and I'll be your host today. So today's discussion, we're going to be talking about diaspora wars and battles. Before we begin our actual discussion, we received an email. So I kind of read over the email, and I'm going to give it a quick summary so I don't name drop anyone or give off any locations. But today we have a 16-year-old girl who is Nigerian. She attends an all-Black school. And she says that anytime she goes to school, she brings any of like her cultural dishes like to the cafeteria, she tends to get like made fun of, and she's called an African booty scratcher. And it's caused her to the point where she feels uncomfortable even bringing her own food to school. And she's asking us, how do we navigate between being African, but also navigating in the world and in institutions as Black people? So like what do you guys think? And also like before we answer the questions, do you guys like mind just telling us like when you guys came to the country, or if you were born here, stuff like that?
Okay. I guess I'll go first. I came to the United States at the age of 9. I've currently been here for about 15 years now. And I guess a little bit about the question you asked. It's just that I was never comfortable enough taking food to school when I first got here, just because like I never felt accepted enough to even overstep that boundary. It was just a conversation. That was all that I stood at, nothing more like that. But I tried to like incorporate some of my cultural stuff in there once in a while, but it's difficult to do that, especially when you're by yourself.
How'd you pop out a little bit while like in school and stuff?
Like pop out with the culture?
Yeah.
So what I did was basically mainly braids. I expressed my emotion and how I felt my culture through my hair, mainly. Because there wasn't really much I could do besides that, because I didn't want to get I guess crucified for the way I dressed. But at least my hair, I can style it up. And you can't do that because you got white hair.
Oh,
right?
No.
I'm just being blunt here. But yeah, that was it. That was how I showed my Ghana power.
I love that.
Okay, when I came here, I was 16, and if you're in Ghana, you know how like you cut your hair like really short.
Oh, yeah.
So my hair was just like that. So just imagine, just here, high school, sophomore year, and just like short hair. Some people ask me, why did you cut your hair? I'm like, it's normal in my country, so it's just how it is. But there's a certain people in this country who are like Ghanaians, but they don't want to associate with people that are freshly here. So I met those kind of people, and I just like, okay, now I know which people that I should hang out with, which people I shouldn't hang out with. But luckily to me, I was able to get actually good Ghanaian people to hang around. The funny thing is, they even bring Ghanaian foods to school at lunch, and they'll have like this like I don't know, bag on the table, and they'll pour it on the like.
Yeah, share food.
Yes, and everyone, like the guys, like the girls, really will come together and eat without hands. That was like the crazy part. But then they made it feel so comfortable to be like at home and like stuff like that. So I was always happy to be around them. So I'm thankful for my friends in high school. But during that like lifestyle, I wasn't really into any difficulties, or I'll just bring the food to school because I know there'll be other people who eat it with me. I'll just come the way I am because I know that other people come in just like that. So I wasn't really, I didn't like debating or like being uncomfortable in that situation. So yeah,
I'm glad that happened to you. I'm glad you had a positive experience when you first came here.
I am glad to.
Do we got any negative ones?
I can kind of speak on that. So I was born and raised here. I lived in a predominantly Black neighborhood, and I went to a predominantly white school. So you could imagine, like, I was torn between different like cultural environments, and like coming to school, I was always the outcast. You know, I was always considered like I was the African, like in any situation. But in a sense, sometimes I use that to my advantage because I became the unique one. Like I was always the one like, oh, I'm the one with the hair. And then I was also comfortable bringing my food to school. Like one time I brought a watch and they were like, oh, it smells strong, but it looks good. Like, you know, so I was like, yeah, I got some good food, you know? And another way I use it to my advantage is whenever we had those days where we dressed up at school, I'll wear the dashiki or like any kind of kente. And again, I use that to my advantage, you know, look good and look unique. But at the same time, there was also like the negative side where like I was always made fun of, like constantly called the African booty scratcher. Like hearing that through my entire childhood, I was very torn by that, and it made me feel, you know, like I didn't know, like I had to be white around white people. I have to act African American around African American people. I had to be African in my own African community, and not even that was difficult because being born here, they're gonna tell you like, oh, you a fake African, you were born here, you know, like, and in my personal experience, it's even worse because my parents didn't teach me treat, which makes me like even outside the like African community. So it is very difficult. It's very difficult, but sometimes you can kind of use it to your advantage. As a kid, that's what I did.
I'm glad you kind of like, do you feel like as you grew older, you became like closer to your culture? And like, do you feel like it was the environment that changed, or was it just you that kind of changed it in a sense?
I would definitely say the environment definitely changed as I got older because like look at it today, like Africa is trending. Like we have that Afrobeats, the music, and we are so like live on media, and then we are all coming together more, you know? Like as we go out, like you can, like I can be with an African American, I can be even around like white people. They're very appreciative of our culture today compared to back then. Like I feel more comfortable being, you know, African, you know?
I had this white tutor who was like, have you like gone to this African place where they sell food? And I was like, no. And she was like, oh, this is the address. They sell jollof. This is my lunch. I was like, oh, okay. They literally opened it. It was like really like jollof from Trinity. And it's like, this is my lunch. I really like African food. I was like, oh, okay, that's actually nice. So, like whenever I see people like that, I'm like, oh,
girl, where are you meeting these people? Because that wasn't me in high school. I was struggling. But no, I feel you. Like when I first came to this country, I came to this country when I was 11. A lot of people don't know that. But I've been here for about 10 years now. When I first came here, they dragged me through the filth. I came here with a bald, fresh cut. I probably had like the freshest fade compared to any boy in my class. And, you know, I was scrutinized for a little bit. But when my hair came back, you know, they kind of laid off of me. But just to like even express my culture, like I had to be wary. In a sense, it's sad to say, but I had to put on like a persona to gain respect because I went to a predominantly Black school for a little bit when I first came here. But like to make sure I wouldn't get punked out or I wouldn't give someone the ammunition, I had to like almost in a sense create like a fake identity. Like I'd be like, don't mess with me. I'm from Marshmallow Village. Like it's, and it's like, in a sense, it's like, I had to like almost play like a role to be accepted. But, you know, later through life, she don't know I'm on a podcast, but later through life, you know, I like began, you know, just starting to like really accept myself and wanting my culture. Like I remember I was like 15 and all of a sudden, like, I stopped craving McDonald's. I stopped craving like Chick-fil-A. I started craving jollof rice. Like I wanted like food from my culture, and it just like, in a sense, it kind of amplified me. And I do believe like I'm glad you are going through like a positive experience in school. Like I'm actually very happy to hear like kids are less meaner than they were when we were younger. But yeah, I definitely feel like it's like social media has helped integrate us. Like Afro beats, we got people listening to Burna Boy. Who did Burna Boy do a collab with? What rapper? It was 21 Savage. Like you know, like they're doing collabs, they're getting integrated, and it's like I'm glad no one can come up to me anymore and ask me, do we wear shoes in Africa, right? Like I'm glad I'm no longer getting those questions. But like, what do you guys think?
Well, I was born and raised in Ohio, very white area, but I wasn't really discriminated against. I would say nobody ever called me an African booty scratcher, nothing like that. But I also feel like I was just born with this like innate confidence to where like nobody was gonna bother me. But I was letting anyone who listened know I was African. Like the first thing was I'm from Ghana. Like before they can even say anything else, that's like what I'm gonna let you know. So I just like I feel like I never felt the need to like hide anything. The only reason why I didn't bring my African food to lunch is because there was no microwave. Yeah. But if there was, I would have.
That's the sad part. Like, why is there no microwave at lunch?
School.
Right.
Yeah,
There's mothers. There's just in the phone.
Yeah, I just feel like that's like a mechanism for them to like force us to pay for like school lunches. Just a conspiracy theory, quick conspiracy theory.
Oh, yeah.
But how about you?
I was born and raised in the U.S. Born in New York, raised in Ohio. I actually went to the same school as Mikkel, but I had a different experience. Growing up, I guess I was shy. Like I didn't really want to be center of attention, and sometimes the attention was not always positive energy. So, but yeah, I think I kept it more under wraps, more like behind closed doors, like not really showing it off in school and things. Like obviously my hair and things like that will show that like I'm African in that respect, but everything else I kind of kept under wraps, I think.
I feel like one kind of thing, like especially to this girl who is experiencing this form of bullying, I would say in a sense like it's 2023, baby. Be yourself. Like be open. There are gonna be millions of people who are waiting to judge you out in the world. Let them judge. Life moves on. Keep going. Bring your food. Matter of fact, bring extra goat's meat. And you know, I just say like, yeah, it sucks that she has to go through stuff like that to even kind of get to that realization of like self-worth in a sense, like because it's like we're already fighting. Like when we come to this country, our parents are already struggling with jobs. We have to kind of struggle with our like own social. It's just a lot already. So I feel like the bullying itself is like really hard on kids who first come to this country. Like, do you guys feel like it's just like one-sided in the terms of like Black people versus like African American?
It's definitely both sides. Definitely both sides. There was some tensions on both sides, and I feel like it's all about like communicating, and there's always like something that somebody's gonna think about you, regardless of who you are. So I feel like it's all about just communicating and coming together in that respect.
But okay, I was gonna say I feel like it hurt more if it's coming from your own people.
Exactly.
Right. 100%. Like let's say like I bring my African food and another African person be like, you shouldn't be bringing that to school. Like that hurt more than some white person saying don't bring the food to school. So I think coming from your own group hurt more than coming from other people. Yeah.
I would say like kind of like horror stories that I've experienced because you know I have Black friends and I have African friends, and you know my Black friends will say like, you know, tell me horror stories of like their first encounter. Like when I went to the braiding shop, like the African auntie starting to cut my hair off, you know, like they will be traumatized versus like I'll have like my African friends who will like say like, oh my God, like I'm being bullied. Like they're saying that I'm an African booty scratcher. My teacher just asked me, do we like sleep in huts? Like, you know, like they're going through stupid questions like that. And like, I feel like it's definitely like both sides kind of playing into a part of it. Like, even before we started like filming, like we were talking about like the word akata, like in a sense, like was it derogatory or was it like, is it okay to say? And like I know we all like had different like opinions on that as well. So like for our viewers out there, if you don't know what the word akata means, it's basically like a slang word that a lot of like I feel like West Africans use it a lot. I don't know.
It's more of a West African.
Yeah, but like a lot, it's like a slang word that West Africans people use towards Black people. The origins of it is a little shady, I'm not gonna lie, but it basically means like a dog who doesn't have a home. And we were talking about it, but like again, like for the cameras this time, ladies. But like, what is your guys' opinions on it? Like, should we use like words like akata or like things like that in a sense?
I feel like it's, I mean, I wouldn't describe it as a derogatory term personally. I don't think it has like a huge history behind it as some other derogatory terms. But I also feel like when I found out it meant like somebody without a home, basically, yeah, there's an animal involved. But I felt like, I feel like if anything, it's kind of like the word has some sympathy to it because it's like those are our people. They're just not necessarily with us or whatever. So I just never saw it as derogatory. And it's also like the same way we call like a white person, I'm calling the akata person an akata person.
Right.
That's just how it is to me.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like there's some sympathy to it. It's not like when I, especially when I say it, I don't say it in a way that's like a way to offend somebody or a way to be like, oh, you're not one of us. It's more of like, oh, like it shows like the history of where you guys came from, and like we're saying like you are our people as well. So I see that as well.
No, I definitely feel you on that. Like, and also, I'm sorry, quick segue. I'm sorry. Okay. If you are on Instagram and you are on our YouTube or Facebook, please feel free to chime into our discussion as well. We would love to have a conversation with you, and we would even read your comment out loud too. But kind of segueing back to it in a sense, like with the word akata, like definitely, like I can definitely see like the ideas of like your usage behind it and like what you mean when you are regarding someone behind it. But I can definitely see like the beauty of the word too. But I don't know, like, like this is the dog part. Like that's all like,
yeah.
I thought it was a cat. Could have sworn it was a cat. That's even worse.
I actually didn't know that akata meant what you guys said. Yeah. I thought it was a slang word, just like Milton Ennis said in the chat. He said, I thought akata meant someone with swag though. That's what I thought too.
Yeah.
I thought,
really?
Yes.
I thought it just meant you have African American who's swagged up. Or
yes.
I did not.
I kind of had that same mentality too. I didn't even think. I never knew it was derogatory until I got a little older. Like I never knew that people use it as a mean way. I just say like akata people.
Because like, I remember I was like with my uncle, right? And we were talking, and he was like, "Those dogs, akata," and I was like, "Hey," and I'm like, "What's up?" And he was like, "Dogs, yeah, it's dogs. I'm saying they're dogs," and I'm like, "Okay," and that's where I got the term from. Like when people when I think of older people saying it, like I feel like that type of definition fits into it, but I can see where younger people are saying the word. I can also see that description fitting into it as well. But yeah, like. I feel like in terms of the diaspora war, like even like, do you guys have your own personal experiences of like going through like in a sense like a battle or like a war?
Like I would say one last thing. I think I've been saying all positive about like how nice I've been like here and stuff like that. But like the one thing I really didn't find it to be a good thing. Also back to like the girl that was saying she got bullied about the food and stuff like that. I just wanted to know that other people are going through the same thing. I got bullied because of the way that I speak when I first got here. Because I wasn't speaking American, like the accents. I got bullied by Africans, which was like so crazy. Like, for a fact that I literally just got here. How am I supposed to get the accent in like a few days? So I got bullied. And the sad part is that made me not talk for almost a year because of how insecure I was about like the way that I speak. But like now that I'm talking, it's because a white person told me that I like your accent, and that made me wanting to actually talk again. But like it hurt more coming from an African person telling me you don't have the accent, you sound too African. Like that is just like not good. So for like the girl or like the lady or whatever, just know that people went through the same situation. Just you'll find your own people. You'll find them somewhere in that school, and just continue. So Kofi K commented, my first order from Taco Bell, I was so confused. I asked my white friend to help me, and he just asked them if they got fish bones for the African guy. That is actually kind of sad.
Fish bones at Taco Bell.
Taco Bell is crazy.
Actually, like funny like fact, I used to work at Culver's, right? And so it's like I used to work at Culver's for a little. I was a cashier and I was doing drive-through orders. And when people would come in with like what my friends would call it funny accents, 9 times out of 10 it was African accents.
Mm.
And you know, I would be dealing with like, I could always tell like the difference between like a Nigerian and a Ghanaian because they're like baga, like,
Oh,
like
yeah.
they pronounce like they're
Yeah.
versus like and a Ghanaian we go like pasta and like pasta, like stuff like that. So I could always tell like who I was dealing with, but I could always tell like they were so shy when they were first talking because unfortunately like a lot of them have to go through people like, you know, picking or making fun of their accents. So I would even like one lady, she was getting an order. I was like, oh, would you like ketchup and mustard? She's like, hold on, I'm calling my daughter and she'll order for me. I said, okay, yeah, for sure. I'll wait. And you know, I feel like it definitely causes like an anxiety between like especially like Africans too. But like, I don't know, like I used to work at an African shop. Also, I'm not listing out my whole job application on this. Like, I promise. But like I used to work at an African shop and like whenever I would notice like young Black girls come in, they would always have like their anxiety, like asking me questions or like, they would, I don't know, in a sense, they would think I'm thinking they're stealing. And I'm like, oh, no, you guys are good. Like, go through the store. And they're like, so, like, what do y'all sell here? I'm like, you know, we got a plethora of African objects, you know, try anything, like anything that looks curious, come up to me and I'll explain it. And they were like, oh, okay, thank you. And, you know, these are young girls. They're like 12. And they're like, you're so nice for an African. And the thing is, they didn't mean it like that. They just ran into an auntie. They didn't run into a regular person. They ran into an auntie. So I think, like, sometimes that can cause that like own kind of like, in a sense, like I wouldn't say discrimination, but bias. Because again, I feel like both sides, like unfortunately, both sides can say like we haven't been welcoming to each other.
Exactly.
And
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say like I would definitely say the Diaspora War definitely stems from history. Like it definitely starts from them knowing that like our ancestors did sell them off for slavery. So I feel like the hate definitely comes from them, and also our parents coming from Africa to the U.S., they come in for a better life. So they want to change the way, they don't want to be too African. Like you said that another African told you don't be too African. It's because they want us to like, you know, assimilate to, you know, the more white culture, the proper culture. That's why they have the sayings where like, oh, why you talk proper instead of ghetto, you know, but there's no like ghetto accent, if you know what I mean. And I feel like that alone made a lot of African Americans feel unwelcome to the African culture, considering that they know that we, at the end of the day, we all came from the same place. We were just separated from history. So the Diaspora Wars definitely came from that.
If it's any consolation, the aunties bother us too.
Oh
Right.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
No,
Oh,
really?
yes.
Yeah.
Oh
No,
yes.
That little
seriously.
run-in that they have with those African aunties threatening to cut off your hair, imagine them coming up to you after church and asking you how much weight you have gained and lost on the Lord's Day. And you know, like even like I would even say like with like the Black and like African community itself, I feel like we have some similarities too. Like before this, we were talking about like ageism. We were talking about like you even knowing like the ideas of like dating or colorism or even like in a sense like internal misogyny in like the Black and African culture is like crazy. And it's like I don't know in a sense, like what do you guys feel like? Have you noticed comparisons or like contractions in a sense?
Can you be more specific?
So like, you know, like when you're talking like we can even like kind of bring it down to a personal level in a sense. Like when you're talking to your friends, do you ever notice like our cultures kind of have a similar like overlap sometimes? Like yeah, like they can go like they can create like relate to the things that I'm relating to. Like I remember my roommate, she was sitting on her bed, you know, doing her like work and stuff. On the phone, I'm getting yelled out by like 3 African aunties on the phone. Yo, now why haven't you called? Now why haven't you sent money? And you know, she's like, oh girl, I get you. Like my mom and like my people do that all the time. Like they're always yelling at me about something. And you know, I feel like sometimes we can relate, even though it's like our cultures are not the same. It's like we're saying the same thing just in different languages.
Go through the same struggles.
Like, do you guys feel like you ever see like some overlaps? Because I know like unfortunately, like in both communities, we suffer like internal misogyny. Like if you guys don't know what that is, it's like girls will hold other girls accountable more than they do with the men in their own like culture. So it's like I'll see 2 pretty African girls fighting over a dude. They're both beating each other, and the man is standing there score-free. Same thing with Black girls. Like I'll see the same thing. Like they don't hold, like they'll hold each other, one another very accountable, but in a sense they don't hold the male accountable. And it's like even I would even say with our upbringing, I don't know how everyone's household was structured, but like I would have like certain chores or tasks that would be
Mhm.
placed on me simply because I was a girl.
Yeah.
And my brothers, of course, they would have tasks and like chores and stuff that were placed on them. And, you know, I would talk to them, my friends about this who were also Black. And they said, girl, we went through the same exact thing. Like my mom would never let my brother touch the dishes. Like we didn't even know what a dishwasher was, you know, in
Right,
the house.
yeah.
So it was like small things that we can like correlate. Like, have you guys ever had like conversations like that?
Yeah. My example, I don't know if that goes with that, but one time I went to this neighborhood. It's just like I don't go out often, so whenever I go out, I just like make sure I'm looking. So I went to this neighborhood. There's like Black people, but like the thing that like I was like, wow, it's like all these Black people are outside, right? They're like talking, having like conversation. It reminded me of like Africa, how your neighbor would come out and they're all like having a conversation together, like in a group. And I was like, oh, they're like adopting. I mean, they're not adopting, but it's just like it's in the spirit. They're just like behaving how we used to do in Africa, just like something that it's in us, even though we're just two different people. Yeah.
Speaking of negative experiences, one of the users, Kofi_K1, I went to the BMV one time, and after having a whole conversation with this lady, someone walked up to me and asked me if I speak English. Man, I suffer.
After the conversation.
I can see like experiences like that.
Yeah.
In a sense, like it's like, dang, it like kind of makes you scared to do anything at this point, or even like gravitate. So I can see like our parents kind of going through similar situations and stuff like that. Like my mom, she was just at the grocery store. I was with her and she was like, no, give me pasta. I'm like, okay, cool. I know what she's saying.
Right.
This old white man comes up and he's like, pastor, you mean pasta?
Oh my God.
My mom gives him the ugliest look. And she says, she just looks at him. She doesn't even say anything. And she just turns her body away. It was a Black man. And she was like, what is type of nonsense is this? I'm saying pasta, I'm talking to my daughter and you're interrupting me. And, you know, of course, then that's when her, you know, I wouldn't say negativity bias comes in. Oh, Black people always interrupt my conversations and this. And I said, Mom, like a white man could have done the same thing too.
Yeah.
And, you know, I feel like, do you guys ever feel like when people are around you, Africans especially, who like have a sort of like, I wouldn't say disdain, but like a bias towards Black people, like do you guys ever speak up or like, what do you guys like?
I
kinda say?
do. I speak up.
She said she's an advocate.
Yeah, like one time we were going out with my mom and it was summer, like hot, like 100 degrees. And this African, they were all like wearing like super short like jeans and like really like tank top. And mom was like, look at them just like having their whole body out. And I'm like, it's hot. Look, do you see? I was like, it's hot. Do you see the weather? I was like, look, do you see that? It's hot. So they're dressing up because of how hot it is.
Right.
If it was cold, they would put on more clothes. It's hot, that's why. But then I said that and he was like, oh yeah, it's hot. And then like she didn't say anything. So like I'm always there to defend my people when my mom says something that's like not really in the right way. Yeah.
No, like, what are you guys? Oh, they say we be quiet. Fair enough. You know, I try to like kind of counteract. Like, I don't know. Like, is this like anyone else's parents? But like when they hop in the front seat of the car, all of a sudden they turn into Dr. Phil. Like they can explain everyone's problems. Like they'll see someone that she wasn't raised in a good home. Her father had left her this and this. And I'm like, just simply looking at this person, like they've already kind of come up with a synopsis. She's on cocaine. She's on drugs. She doesn't have a job. Meanwhile, they're just riding the bus, right? And I feel like usually that bias kind of reflects out to people who are Black. And it's like, I really never see them ever say anything like towards like people like that. And it's like, I don't know, like, do you guys ever feel like do they just normally discriminate against everyone, or is it just particularly Black people?
I think everyone. Personally, I think they just have a lot to say about everybody.
I think it's everybody, yeah.
African, white.
Yeah, everybody.
What they will see outside, like my mom saw this. This is like no offense whatsoever. Like I'm just saying that they're a homeless person who was white. She was like, oh, these white people, they're not gonna go do any work. They're just outside being homeless. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like I was just surprised. Like, why would we say that? Like, but then it was outside. The guy was really sitting over there. He was saying it in Chi. So I was like, you don't know why they are homeless, so you probably shouldn't be saying that, you know. But just to anyone that they see outside, we'll just give it to them right there. Done.
Give it to them.
We have Nana_Kwado What do y'all think about us Africans having our parents decide on who we should choose to marry?
I actually was thinking about that also. My mom, I feel like she prefers me to be with African at the end of the day. But I feel like in the priority of people, it's definitely African, and then probably white people next.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
My mom would be like,
Oh,
I agree 100%.
yeah.
my mom would be like, African American, not in my house. No. Just like African Ghanaian specific, not like Nigerian or like
Yeah.
a white person.
I feel like another reason the bias from our parents towards African Americans is because of what they see in the media, especially like back then in Africa. Like, I would say generally in Africa, like what they saw on media about African Americans was how, like, the drugs, the alcohol, girl, like just a lot of like
Negative.
yeah, a lot of negative things. That's what they saw. So when they came to the US, it's like that's how they saw them, and then that's how they raised up, like, stay away from them. They're bad people, you know. I mean, we obviously know that's not always true for everyone. It's a stereotypical like idea.
No,
But-
for sure. I feel like the way that when they first come to the country, in a sense, like I feel like when any African person who first moves to this country, we're like delusional. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like we believe that
Everyone got money.
money. Like
Everyone's rich.
No, especially when you go back and they're like, "Oh, you're rich now."
Oh my God, no.
But
Miss
like,
America.
like I don't know, in a sense we're very delusional, and especially like because we were taught what America was through television.
Mhm.
And if anyone is not familiar with Ghana's like television and the way like the TV shows we watch, pretty much we got SpongeBob. Ben 10 got canceled after one episode. We got and then the WWE. Other than that, like we'll watch movies and stuff, but in the movies that our parents even saw, like it just displayed and like pictured Black people in a very terrible light, and even they kind of absorbed that type of like, in a sense, like bias towards them, and they even like try to like spew it on us. Like before I went to college, my mom said you can either bring two things into this house: a degree or a Ghanaian man. And I said, okay, cool. And she was very adamant, like, don't date Black dudes, don't date Black dudes. Black dudes are bad. Don't be friends with Black people. Like they're bad. And I'm gonna be honest, like a lot of my closest friends through college, they were good people and they were Black. And I never even saw like that and sometimes it's like I want to be like, stop doing that, yell at them. But it's like in my head, it's like it's just her own bias, like what she was taught. But even like now, my mom is kind of coming into like terms with things and like seeing the culture. Like y'all should have seen this lady when Barack Obama became president. Like it was like hell breaks loose, right? Oh, another commenter, Kofi_K1. I went to Walmart with my dad to buy peanut butter. My dad said a groundnut. His father said groundnut paste. This old lady looked at us and said, sorry, we don't carry that. Y'all, it's just always a button in. Like, it's the button in. It's the groundnut paste. And like the thing is, it's like there are people out there who will feel like, in a sense, they feel like, I want to say audacity, but it is audacity to try to come and correct someone on their own language. Like most Americans speak or like even talk at a 5th grade level, like, and they try to correct someone else on their own English, and it's crazy. And it's like even people in public, like trying that comfortability, like you can't get it. But I have met like sweet people, of course, who have been like, who don't do it out of like in a sense of mockery, but they do it simply because they're trying to help. Yeah. Like when my mom is ever having an issue, like reading a letter, or like, there will always be like a nice woman who will like push her to the corner and be like, okay, this is what you got to say, this and this and this, go do this. There's always like, there's someone sweet out there. Now we always have those weird cornballs who feel the need, oh, you're supposed to say emancipation, stuff like that. And it's like, I feel like in a sense, like Africans can't sleep, in a sense, like even talking, and to the point where it creates people to create a sort of blockade, like in a sense, like people, I hate to say it, but if you are an African out there, please, when they ask you where you're from, you don't have to say my parents are from Ghana. You can just simply say I'm from Ghana. Like, in a sense, that is kind of a low-key pet peeve from me, because even though your parents are from Ghana, even though if you may have not lived in the country, you're still Ghanaian by blood, in a sense. So it's like, I get people who say like, because sometimes they don't want to be like if they don't know the culture like that, they don't want to be questioned. Oh, you're Ghanaian, so this and this, where are you from? So they kind of get scared. So they'll say my parents are, to kind of create a distance. But it's like, in a sense, you have to question, like, why are you creating that distance? Are you creating it to protect yourself? Or are you creating it so you don't have to explain yourself?
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say sometimes that can be hard because if someone like directly from Ghana will ask me where I'm from and I say Ghana and they tell me where I was born, and I say the US, they're like, oh, then you're not from Ghana. Like in that community, that's why it's kind of difficult to navigate through my own African community because like I'm not accepted by those who directly come from Ghana because they see me as someone who's American. You know? So like I want to say like, oh yeah, I'm from Ghana because of course, I mean, I don't want to keep explaining, oh, my parents was born here and I was born here. I want to say I'm from Ghana, but like in that specific community, sometimes they don't like accept that answer, So like, it can be difficult.
Yeah, I think the distance is created before we are even involved.
Yeah.
I feel like once, especially if you go to Ghana and you like show off your U.S. passport at the airport, they're gonna see you as American if you're there, especially when you have an American accent like myself as well. So I think the distance is created there.
No, I definitely get you. Like, we have one commenter commented one more time. He said, nah, but like in school when I came to the US, I literally recorded my teachers when they were teaching because I wasn't hearing anything they said because of their own accents. So it's like crazy how someone can come up to you and be like, you have an accent, while they're talking and you're an accent. But no, exactly what you were saying, like in terms of like, in a sense, like even like in the diaspora battles, we even have a diaspora battle within the Ghanaian community itself, like kids who are born here versus kids who are raised in Ghana. And it's like, it almost costs like, in a sense, like a separation. Like Elsie, like me and Elsie went to like the same church when we were younger. And when I first met you, like you even told me you thought I was Black for a little bit. And like, I'm not gonna lie, you were the only person at church who came up to me because everyone thought I was Black. And of course, like, sometimes, in a sense, like some aunties just couldn't speak English, so they didn't want to be bothered by having that conversation. While others, of course, had that disdain of like, why is she here? In a sense. But no, it's like it does kind of create that like it's a weird separation. But I do believe that the separation is because of the mentality. It's not because both parties are not hardworking. But it's like I feel like when a lot of kids who come fresh from Ghana, they have a mentality of they need to work. They need to provide for their families. They need to do this. They already have a set plan. They're coming in with the delusional American dream, right? While we've kind of lived here, we understand what America is. A lot of us are focused on we need to graduate. We need to accomplish what our families are telling us. So we're on two different wavelengths that I feel like sometimes it causes us not to kind of like intersync, but it kind of causes us to be parallel. And I can definitely see like, unfortunately, when I go to church, like even looking at like the Sunday school kids, it's like it's always the Ghanaian American kids who have been here for a long time talking to each other, laughing, and stuff. Then we have the kids who are like fresh off the boat. They're laughing, they're talking about stuff like that. And it's like, in a sense, it's like you never see them mix in together. I know like Elsie, before we started, you were even talking about your school, like the ACA and how like international students didn't even want to attend the ACA meetings and stuff. And it's like, I can definitely see like that separation. Like, how do you guys do you guys ever see it? Like, do you guys ever like try to like, in a sense, like bring both parties together? Like, how are your guys' opinions on it?
I don't really, sorry.
Go ahead.
I don't think I experienced it that much, but maybe I'm like walking around with rose-colored glasses. But, I definitely I feel like I have a friend who he was like fresh out the boat when college started. And we always talk about how my freshman year, I avoided him like the plague. And it was because he was so talkative and I'm just not that type of person. It felt like if I walked into a room, he's immediately going to come up to me or whatever. He's introducing himself to anyone who's around me and stuff. It was a whole thing every time I saw him. So like, we always joke about it now because he's always like, sometimes I would say your name and you would just keep walking because I did not have it in me, but it was just like, I don't know if like the social cues are different, but it was just something was off. Like it was just a little bit too much, but it was never that I wasn't open to being friends with him, but it's just like, it seemed like a difference of personalities more so than like I had a problem with that person, if that makes sense. But we're cool now. Like, I'll be cool with you.
Sometimes it just takes some time and adjustment. It takes some time, adjustment, and adaptability.
I do think that, like, I have never had a problem with somebody that's fresh off the boat, like, being born here. but I do see that there is a little bit of distance. Like if you go to like ASAs on campus, like a lot of international students like that are fresh and came here are not going to be on ASA because first of all, they already have their African international fresh off the boat people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They have their people, and it's like they don't need that safe space because they didn't grow up here. They don't need they already feel comfortable in their skin. They don't have to like, you know what I'm saying? Like they didn't go, they didn't go through disdain or anything or feel like they need a comfort zone for being around anybody. So
Yeah.
I feel you. I definitely do believe like they already kind of in a sense immersed themselves recently into the Ghanaian culture to the point they don't need like a remembrance of it.
yeah, exactly.
Like to them, this is a visit.
Yeah,
They don't need to be reminded me of home. Also, another suggestion for the girl who sent the email. Kofi K says, all my coworkers thought I was a hero because I told them one time that I used to play with lions. My lifetime, I've killed 3 lions. So, you know, like, of course, like answering dumb questions with stupider answers in a sense. But no, I definitely like feel you on that like topic for sure. But sorry, all over the place. But do you guys like ever feel like in a sense like with Black and African American people, there could like be a sense of like unity in the future?
I hope so.
We can believe that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's something that everybody kind of wants, not just African Americans, but just everybody that stays in the United States. It's just kind of like we all want to be cordial and just live happily, right? But it's just, it's easier said than done, obviously, because there's always going to be people that don't want to see that happen, and it's really sad to say that, but it's true. There's people that want to keep us separated as much as possible, and that's fine. It happens. So we hope. Yeah, we pray.
There's also some people who are just traumatized by their past experiences. They don't want to,
and they hold on to it.
They hold on to it too long. Yeah,
for dear life.
Do you guys ever see? Okay, quick question. Do you guys ever see yourself dating someone who is Black?
I mean, I did for 4 years.
Okay, really? Okay, how was that? Like,
it was good. Like my parents liked him and everything. It took some adjusting, especially from my dad. I would say that, but it was good. Like the family was nice. Like it was. I mean, we're no longer together anymore, but you know, things happen. But it was good.
If you asked me this question like years ago, I would say like, yeah, I'm so down with it. But I feel like I have dated an African American person in the past, but I realized that when I'm older, like the way I want to raise my children is different than the way they want to raise their children.
Yeah, that's also not a bad thing too.
It's not bad, but I also don't like, what's the word, compromising? I don't like compromising.
Yeah.
So, I'm like, I want to take them to Ghana. I want them to go often as possible. I want them to do this, I want to do them that. And they're just not always down with that. And I don't feel like having that conversation. So I probably will lean more towards African man in like the future.
I feel like currently I lean on the African American side. I can't help it. But, maybe it's daddy issues. Who knows what it is. But it's just like, that's just where we're at right now. I feel like I'll yeah.
We're going to keep it up there.
We don't need to get into my business.
But I've dated, like, I'm not saying I dated multiple people, but I've dated people of different races. And, I would, like, I'm not going to lie, I do my research before I go into anything because of, again, like, past traumas. I'm like, does your family know I'm Black? They're like, yeah. Do they know I'm African? Well, I didn't know I needed to bring that up. Tell them I'm African before I come over there.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But it's, like, usually the people who I've dated, like, we always have like almost in a sync, like you have your culture, I have my culture, and then we're together and we can both bring our cultures and mix in. Do I see myself like marrying someone outside of my culture? I'm not sure. The thing is, I'm open to it. It's just like I know the person who I have to marry has to be open to my culture the way I'm open to their culture.
And their family too has to have some kind of acceptance, because if not, it's going to be a very difficult marriage.
For sure. Oh, and especially their friends. If I hear their friends making jokes about African booty scratchers, all of that, I'm out the door.
Yeah.
Joyce, how about you? To answer all the single men out there for Joyce.
For me and a Black person, I would say no. Which is like no today. Well, maybe there might be like a little, but like no, for now.
For now, right?
For now,
for
it's a no. It's just I don't know. I'm not gonna the way that they no just
no need to go into detail.
like no stop.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
we got another comment. Nana says, I remember taking fufu to school and they thought it was an artwork.
Sorry, they thought it was a what?
It was artwork. Like for art. Kofi K comments, one guy called me chicken, but I thought he was referring to the actual chicken. After I realized what the actual meaning was, I wanted to say something really painful to him. I called him a greedy. Oh, we can't say that, Kofi. But yeah, you know, like yeah. But no, I definitely agree with you guys. Do you feel like kind of taking a reflection on your friend group in a sense? Do you guys feel like you have a different flavor, or is it like predominantly like African American, Black? Like
it's really a mixture depending on where I'm at. Honestly, like my church friends, obviously, they're mostly African. When I was in like high school, it was mostly actually in high school for me, it was very diverse. Like I had like an Asian friend, a white friend. We had someone Black in the friend group, someone African. I was African. But then college is very diverse in like different areas. But it's mostly African, I would say that. But I also have some African American friends.
Okay. I think mine's completely diverse. I have a Hispanic friend, an African American friend. I have an African friend. I think I have a friend for everything. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I feel like I have friends like all over every culture. Like I haven't had one section that I'm mostly in, and I think that's beautiful. Yeah.
I wouldn't say I have a diverse friend group because I keep to myself. But I would say like in middle school and probably like high school, I had a few Ethiopian friends, Nepalians and stuff like that. Yeah, it's always them. They like us so much.
I know.
They love us. Like they love us.
Yeah, and we love them too, 100%. But yeah, there was like a lot of different people like I was hanging out with back then. But when I came here, I just kind of kept to myself.
I definitely like when I first came here, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I was like friends with predominantly Black people. And then like, of course, because like when I got here, it was weird. Like, even though I just came fresh off the boat, a lot of people thought I was just Black. Like they were just like, okay, we're not even gonna ask what country because you know, white people, they're scared to even ask. But like they're like, okay, she's Black, and you know, a lot of Black girls would gravitate towards me. But of course, when I started growing up and I wanted that attachment from my culture, it's so weird. I always like try to like introduce myself the same exact way to every African. What country are you from? And it's like, they're like, oh, I'm from Nigeria. I'm like, oh my God, I'm Ghanaian. And like, in a sense, it's like, if I don't say that I'm Ghanaian, it's like, to them, they're a little uncomfortable. Until I drop the I'm Ghanaian, like, that's when the water works. Like, I will not get them to stop talking. Like, they will continue to talk because they've met someone from a similar culture. Right. But I definitely do believe, like, now that I'm growing up, my friend group has definitely become diverse in a sense. Like, I'm friends with everybody from the rainbow. And, you know, it's been, like, a really great way to, like, really, like, in a sense, like, better myself as a person. Because it's, like, I love my Ghanaians and I love the Ghanaian mentality, but too much of everything is not good. And, you know, I feel like my friends have, like, even introduced me to, like, new ways and, like, new forms of thinking and everything. So I'm really blessed to say that, like, yeah, the friend group that I have currently is diverse. Even like with our friend groups in terms of stuff, like with the diversity that we have, it also like opens us to have discussions like similar like this. Like a lot of me and my girlfriends, we like exchange beauty tips. They're so interested in like, oh, like, can you name drop some like African beauty tips? Like my close friend, she didn't know what an African sponge was. Right. And when I handed it to her, she was like, she thought it was like for fishing. Right. And she was like, oh, I'm supposed to catch fish with this, girl. I'm supposed to. I literally had to go to our dorm bathroom and show her how to lather the soap on the sponge because she's never seen anything like that. She's so used to like rags or like the puff, the loofah stuff. And like when she got like the African sponge, it was so funny. Because she came to my room, like after she took a shower, she came to my room butt-ass naked, right? And she's like, girl, you changed my life. My skin feels so soft.
It is. No, let me tell you, I had went to a stage in my life where I used the loofah. I said, why did I ever switch? No,
it doesn't feel like you're cleaning anything.
it doesn't even
Yeah.
feel like
You
you're
don't feel
clean.
And like she was like, I'm clean. I'm like, I just feel
So you
great. And like the thing is, it was like Shawty went loose when I gave her like the black soap combo. Like she was going crazy. Like she was like, you know what I got on? I'm like, yes, girl, we know what you got on. And you know, I feel like it's so fun to like watch them like in a sense like experience their first time with these. Like when I take my friends out for Ghanaian food or they come over for Ghanaian food, like I literally, God, I feel like a mom. Like I'm recording them eating the food. I'm like, eat, because I'm just so excited for them to like try it, and like they're so excited too. And it's like I feel like in a sense like that appreciation creates like an openness. Like I don't know if you guys ever shared like actually what is like the craziest thing that you shared with like a non-African friend, that's particularly Black, that like they just kind of went crazy for, in a sense. Jollof.
Ghanaian jollof.
Best.
I'm gonna say this is crazy, but like you guys know like the skin lightening lotion.
Yeah.
Well, she had dark armpits, so I used to like show her that to the dark lighten her armpits. Yeah, she loved it. I mean, she don't use it like you know, she don't use it like everywhere. Like, but yeah, I still use that. You know, period. Yeah.
One time I brought Watcher to work, and my supervisor, he's African American, but he loved it. He was like, "When are you going to bring it back? It's spicy though." But he still ate it.
Yeah, I've never had.
Never?
No.
She's gatekeeping.
I mean, I've been giving out the soups and stuff. I'll be telling my mom like if it disappeared, you know. Somebody asked for it. I just had to, but one thing that bothers me is when they say it's spicy. I mean, maybe I'm a hater, but
No,
it's like maybe you should calm down.
Is it really that hot? Is it that hot?
It's not that hot.
It's not that hot.
Calm down is crazy.
But I had this like Mexican friend who was like, "Oh, he was like, are you Ghanaian?" I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "Oh yeah, I had a boyfriend who was Ghanaian. I went to their house and I ate this food with like purple soup." I was like, "What is?" It was like purple. I was like, "What?" So I was like, "Oh, you know, peanuts." I was like, "What?" I was so confused, but he was just talking about rice ball and peanut soup. I was like, "Oh, so you?" I was like, "Oh, okay." So it's like, I love it. I love it so much. I was like, "Oh, okay, that's nice. Well, that's really nice." That when I see people like appreciating Ghanaian food, I'm like,
We love to hear that part.
We love to hear it. We love to hear
Anything
it.
else, please keep it to yourself.
Oh, that makes me remember when people started trying like the fufu online.
Yes.
I was not a fan.
I
That
be
was annoying.
skipping those videos.
Yeah.
I stopped using my phone for a week so that those
Just so it can.
it can
the
die
pass.
down. Yes, I was like, why are you eating it if you're not like if you don't like it? Also, why are you recording it and making all those like disgusting face?
Joy,
Like
she bring
what?
up a great topic that we're actually going to discuss in a little bit. It's going to be between appreciation and mockery. But another, we have another comment on there. I'm going to pronounce your name wrong, and I'm sorry. Melto Ernest. How often do you guys code switch from different ethnicities and stuff, or y'all keep the same persona everywhere you go, no matter the person present?
I feel like I code switch every 5 seconds.
Same.
I sound like
So
I'm
do
from
I.
somewhere else. It's a mix. I think because I'm around such different groups of people, it's all mixed up in my brain. So I just be talking different at different times.
And it's not even like necessarily because I'm African. It's just generally speaking. I could switch in general a lot. But when I was younger, it was definitely based off of like, I'm African. Let me act African around the Africans. Let me act African American around the African Americans. Let me act proper and white around the white people. But as I've gotten older, it's more just like a social thing. I don't know if you know what I'm saying. Like I just code switch. Like I'm obviously not gonna talk to my managers the same way I talk to my friends. But I'm still African. I'll still act African.
It's also like some people are not gonna get what you say. Like so if you make a joke some type of way, no one's gonna get it if they're not from the same background of it. Like I'm not gonna make African American jokes to like someone who's just fresh off the boat because they're gonna be like, what?
No, I definitely get you, because it's like I would even say like code switching in a sense is a sense of form. Like it's like a form of protection in a sense. Like when I first started code switching, I was younger, and I would use it in a sense to like not get punked out by my peers. Like I would have to like in a sense, I hate to say it, but I would use an urban voice or ghetto slang so I could like in a sense like, okay, we can't mess with her. But now that I get older, like I hate to say that I don't really care anymore. Like I will literally like I'll be talking like, hey, my name is Deborah Mensa, nice to meet you. My mom calls, I'm like, mommy, I'll go like that because it's like at this point, the older I get, I feel like the more I become like I know myself so much to the
100%.
point like I don't even want to fake it anymore.
Yeah. I have a question, but I just like this one. Okay. So like I know OC cannot speak. She like does videos.
I can speak a little bit.
A little bit. Okay. Okay. What about like videos? Do you guys like know it or
I'm with Elsie.
okay.
I'm also with
understand.
Elsie.
Yeah, I'm understand more than I speak, but
Yeah.
Okay, so I speak Chi, but whenever like I'm outside with my mom and we're like speaking the Chi. When my sister used to be little, she used to be like, "We shouldn't speak Chi. We don't want them to like get like the wrong information." And I'm like, "We're just talking normally."
yeah.
But like now she doesn't care. Like when we go out, we speak Chi with like when white people are around. She's like okay with it. I'm just gonna ask if you guys ever felt like that, but since you guys didn't really, you guys don't know the Chi. I don't think you guys have been that situation before.
I speak Fancy.
Okay.
I speak it at home all the time. And my mom has made it a strict rule. As soon as you step foot into that house, no English. I don't care. She does not care. She don't. I'm telling you, no English. So we practice it. And I try to practice it with her. When we step out the house, no true English. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that in that way, we're both trying to do something different for each other here. So yeah, 100% speak Chi all the time. Fancy at home all the time. So I have to keep that. If I lose anything else, I gotta at least keep my language.
I feel you.
Even though I don't speak Tree, I understand it pretty well. So like if I'm around people and my mom calls, I'll be like, switch to Tree because people don't need to hear all this.
No, I definitely get you. And like I've been in certain scenarios, like I'm not very affluent in Chi, but I've been in certain scenarios where I've been around people who are, and they're having like big group discussions. And the thing is, it's like I don't mind sitting in that. Like my friend was like, "Do you want us to switch to English?" I said, "No, continue," because it like to me it sounds beautiful in a sense. It's like I'm listening to music. It's like I'm like okay.
It also helped me learn a little bit more.
True, and it's like. I feel like, in a sense, like, I don't mind it. I know some people get uncomfortable with the idea, like, someone's talking into a different language. But it's like, I don't really see it. But I definitely feel like, in terms of, like, language and accents, like, my friends have told me, they're like, Debbie, like, you have different accents. I'm like, why? Like, when you get angry, like, I can hear you. And I'm like, oh, no. It's like, that's just the way I talk. And they're like, it's crazy because like people they'll just like look at me and I'm talking and I'm like, are you a fool? And they'll be like, what? And it's like it's really fun. I do believe though, like now compared to then, it's definitely been a switch though. Because like I couldn't pull up with like my African accent to my teacher because they'll just be looking at me like, what are you saying? Like versus like now, like when I kind of do switch to like a certain like African like word. Or like, I wouldn't say African word, I'm not talking in a different language, but a lot of people don't know that in like Ghana and stuff, we use a different English compared to like English here. So like we use like British English in Ghana and then we use American English here.
Right.
So the thing is, it's like when I learned English, I was learning it more so from the British standpoint versus like an American standpoint. So like even certain American words that I say, I'm like aluminium. There's always somebody in the Dollar Tree who I'm not gonna have this discussion. But aluminium, like I'll say that and they'll be like, there's someone in the grocery store trying to argue with me. Or like another funny word that I would say, it was like presentating, like or something, and my teacher was like, presenting, I'll be presentating. And I would continue like so it's like small words too that even I can say like even like people who are raised here who are also Ghanaians, we get corrections on. Like I remember I was like telling my friend like that boy is cute and she's like, which boy? I'm like, the one in the singlets. And she was like, what singlets? I'm like, singlets. And she's like, what are you talking about? The singlet. And she was like, girl, you mean white beater? She says it out loud, everyone in the room. So it's like stuff like that. We get corrected on stuff too.
Yeah. There's some phrases that like I gave up on correcting my parents for. Like, for example, I would tell my mom, I want some Chipotle. She's like, okay, let's go get some Chipotle. Okay. What's another thing? My mom said papaya instead of Popeyes. I'm like, it's okay.
Papaya. Yeah, we also have another comment from Nana. As the diaspora people, y'all listen to more Ghanaian music or African American hip hop or rap. So you guys kind of want to go like one by one. So like name like in a sense the genre that you listen to the most.
Mostly Ghanaian. I love the Ghanaian throwbacks. I listen to High Life all the time. But I'm also open to listen to hip hop. I just listen to the other ones more often. But I love R&B though.
R&B is. I was gonna say that neither R&B, and I like slow Afro beats. Like it's gonna be like Oxlade for me, or is it gonna be R&B with some Summer Walker?
Summer, okay.
Yeah, it's about the same thing for me. But I would say I mainly like African American music because I just feel like the lyrics behind it now is more actual relatable than Africans making music now, because I feel like they're trying so hard to copy Americans that they're not actually putting like common sense into the lyrics.
Think before you start making music.
Yes, and it's like, what did you say? What did you just say? And so yeah, I like African American now because of their lyrics. It just makes sense. You know?
Girl, Gifty, we have a comment directed towards you. She said, I agree with your mother. When you are home, you speak your native language.
I wish my parents did that.
I was just telling my mom the other day.
Yeah.
I was criticizing
I
her.
blame my parents.
I blame them every time.
No, I was picking up my nephews from preschool, and there's other Ghanaian kids that they go to school with, which I think is so cute. And I'm walking into the classroom picking up my nephew, and like he's told all his friends, like, yeah, my auntie's Ghanaian. So when these little girls come up to me speaking Tree, I'm embarrassed because I'm responding back to them in English. I'm like, yes, you good girls. And like they're so cute because I love hearing kids talking Tree, but they're so cute, and I'm embarrassed, me at my big age, and they're speaking like they're out speaking me. I walk away in shame.
Yeah.
But
for me, I speak 2 languages at home. Even though I'm from Ghana, I speak Chi and Ahanta. It's like the language in West region in Ghana. When my dad wanted us to know the Ahanta, because it's like a small people in Ghana speaking it, he will say something in Ahanta, and if you reply back in Chi, she'll be like, huh? He literally, he has heard, he has heard what you're saying, but he'll be like, huh? Huh? He will say, huh, until you literally say that in Ahanta before he would respond. So with my dad and my mom, I would speak Ahanta. With my siblings, I would speak Chi. When I go outside, then I speak English. But my dad will never speak Chi at home. She would literally speak Ahanta, and she will want you to speak it back. If you cannot, he will just wait. He'll be like, I'm waiting. Translate it in your head, and I'll wait for you to say it. So yeah.
Do you feel like you listen to more music with Ghanaian, the dialect, or do you feel like you kind of since you've been here more so?
When I first came here, I listened to Afrobeat a lot, but then I just stopped because I wanted to improve my English. So I started listening to pop music and stuff like that.
What's your favorite pop song?
Okay, let's not get into that.
Okay, well, I didn't say
it. Okay, when I first, I was like, whenever I said I like Ariana Grande's song, people would be like, "Wait, so you want to be white?" But the thing is, I just like those kind of songs, but they're soft. I like soft music, and I don't like a lot of beat and curse words and other stuff. Just soft music. So whenever people I like Ariana Grande's song, they'll be like, "So you want to be white so bad?" So whenever you ask me what song do I like, I'll be like, I like African music. So then you're probably not gonna say anything because I'm African. I like African music. Then you just stop there. Yeah.
I think I lean more towards R&B, but I was definitely listening to High Life when I was driving here.
Yeah, it's a mix. It's a mix.
Yeah, definitely a mix.
This is crazy.
Right. No, when I first got to the country, I really did listen to a lot of Afro beats, but when I got integrated into school, I don't know, I started listening to drill rap. I just became I had a Drewski mask on in my room, just vibing out, doing my homework. But I think the older I got and the closer I wanted to get to my culture, I did start listening to Afro beats. But now even sometimes I even get confused between Afro beats music and R&B or rap music.
The way it's coming together, I love it though.
And I love it. It's beautiful because it's the way they're integrating it. It's beautiful. I was even talking to Gifty and Elsie before we started. We were talking about when I first heard Black Sharif, I thought he was a drill artist. The way his deep, the depth of his voice, the beats. I was like, okay, this is a drill song. But I started listening because I can't say the lyric, but of course I thought it was I thought it was a rap song. But it's it's crazy how these artists are now implementing a rap, R&B into their music. And I feel it's also allowing it to be more open for people. My friend I was called my friend and she was listening to Burna Boy. I wasn't offended, but I was just taken aback. And she's white. And I'm like, why? How do you know this? Who taught you this? And she was like, I heard it on TikTok. And I'm like, okay, now this makes sense.
And not even that, it's kind of traveling over to Africa now, because a lot of young people in Ghana especially are getting like, I mean, I guess it's more stereotypical there, but they're kind of adopting the culture of like African Americans here, like the more drill, like Kumerica, there's that drill culture, that I guess gangster culture, and I feel, I don't know if it's appreciation or a trend. I really don't know how it is back there, but it's interesting seeing how things travel, and I definitely like blame it on the media, which it can be a good thing, but it also can be a bad thing, because they only see the stereotypical aspect of it.
And even speaking of social media, that kind of brings us to another topic of our discussion. It's like appreciation versus mockery. Like TikTok has blown African culture through the water, and I think it's allowed people to become more accepting of it as well. Like, I don't know, I remember the first time I really saw like African music really being like mainstream it was even before Burna Boy, but it was I don't know if you guys know like the Don't Rush. Y'all remember the Don't Rush challenge?
Oh yeah.
Where like ladies would like kind of pop up, and like that was like my first like, okay, cute, like they're celebrating an African song. And then of course we get artists like Burna Boy, we have people Davido, Wizkid, like doing collabs with American artists, and Rima like became mainstream, and it's like, in a sense, I feel like it created like, in a sense, like a safe place for Black people to explore our culture. But sometimes I do believe that their appreciation can sometimes turn into mockery. Like Joyce had kind of said prior to this, like she had to delete YouTube and TikTok because she kept seeing people try African food and going overboard with their reactions to it. Like I think it was like on TikTok, some woman, she was eating like pounded yam, and like she was like, oh, it feels like mashed potatoes. I'm like, okay, she's comparing it to her culture. I'm already knowing what's about to happen. But, she's eating it and she spits it out. And, she's like kind of making, a big scene about something that could have honestly been like, oh, you guys, I don't like the taste of it. It tastes good, but I just personally don't like the texture of it. And I felt like the video would have continued beautifully. But instead she was going overboard, making sure everyone knew how nasty the food was. And it's like, you wouldn't do that, like I think it was you, Githy, she said Elsie, you wouldn't do that in somebody's house. Like,
you don't like the food,
you don't like the food, you just simply grab your tissue, put it down, and continue.
Light about it.
And instead you don't go and say this is the nastiest thing I've ever heard. And it's like, in a sense, I can see how that can create a separation between us, because it's like, it would be unfair for me to go and try gumbo on screen and say this tastes nasty, and I start spitting it everywhere. So I think it's like definitely like the difference between the mockery of it and appreciation, because I do know some YouTubers who will eat like the food and say like, this is good, or they'll be like, hey, I don't like it, but it's good. And I feel like, so like, how do you guys kind of decipher when you are going through the internet, like deciphering between appreciation and mockery between like the Black diaspora?
I guess I just wonder, like, if they were doing it with another culture, is that how they would react? Like, for example, like what you were saying, like how I was saying earlier, when you're eating in someone's house, are you going to spit it out like that? If not, it's probably a mockery. It's not like an appreciation. Again, you don't have to like all of our food. That's totally fine. But like, there's more respectful ways of expressing your dislike for something, and like, people do in other cultures, why not do it in front of the African culture as well? And I guess the same goes for us with the African American culture as well.
I definitely get you. Like, when I feel like I see, like, we were actually talking about this, but I don't know if you guys know, like, pouring one for your like dead homie. Like, somebody tried to compare that to like our traditional when someone dies in like the village, and when like I would say it's usually like a priest. That's not a priest. It's usually a older person who does it, but they'll pour it. But instead of like pouring it for their dead homies, they're pouring it so they can call back the spirit and do all other types of stuff with that spirit as well. But I made a comment. I was like, oh, like, I get what you're trying to say, but it's not the same thing. I got drugged through the comments, okay? Like, they were eating me up. You're not even African. Shut up. And, even though, I have my +233 on my bio, they were still eating me up in the comments. And to the point, I feel like sometimes, like, even with appreciation, it can turn into a bit of ignorance, especially when you have the audacity to correct someone about their own culture. So I don't know if you guys have seen that, like on TikTok, Instagram.
I feel like whether it's appreciation or mockery, I'm not the intended audience, because I don't care. Like, if you're trying the food for the first time, like, I'm not about to sit here and watch you eat fufu. Like, I'll go eat my own fufu. You know what I mean? I'm like, one thing about me is like, I really don't consider myself an educator. Like, yeah, I let my friends try food and stuff because I know they're not going to act the fool, but I'm not one to sit down and try to educate people online because I don't have time to talk with people
Right.
who don't have real
Yeah.
patience and stuff like that.
I would say like also something that I've been seeing like a huge trend of in terms of appreciation. I think it would be our clothing now. Like I remember like seeing like people on the internet like it. Okay, in a sense, like do you ever remember how long it would take for you to get like African clothes?
Yes.
Like 6 months, 7 months, you would wait for
Yeah,
someone to go to Ghana to
time.
bring you the clothing.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like I can go on Instagram and there's like a vendor out there
Yeah.
who is like,
Etsy.
yeah, they'll be like, oh, you can get this in 2 weeks. And like it would be like legit, like Kente style clothing.
Mhm.
And it's like I even had my friend, she was like, Debbie, do you think I would be racist if I bought this? I said, no, just don't wear it out in public if you want to get funny looks. But
Right.
you can buy it. It's a beautiful dress. And you know, she would just simply say like, oh my gosh, this is so pretty. Like I'm buying like 8 of them. And like I feel like it also gives like access to it as well.
I love that Africans become mainstream, but there are also some negatives with it, like as well. Like one, the price is gonna go up.
Mhm.
Originally, I'm like, I used to get it just for how much, and now we're paying double. And then the second thing also is like some people will take advantage of that, and like I'm all here for like Africans getting their money up, but there's people that will take that culture, spin it, and be like, and have people pay for something that they made that's not from directly from Africans, and that makes me kind of like, I don't like that because you're making money off of our culture when we should be making money off our culture. Yeah,
No, for sure.
Yeah.
right. We're not making money.
And the thing is, it's like it's crazy now that like people are like attempting to like in a sense like make money off of our own culture. Like when I was in college, my dormitory, like the food hall, attempted to make jollof rice.
Really?
They attempted to make jollof rice.
That is very
No,
bold.
And the day I walked down, because you know, like that little buffet style,
Yeah.
I saw it. I was offended. I didn't want to say anything because I worked there,
Yeah.
but I was offended. And I continued. And the thing is, kids are paying like $31,000 just to eat this.
Right.
And like, I hate for it to be their first introduction to jollof rice.
Exactly.
And like, they'll be like, Debbie, I just tasted jollof. It's not really that seasoned. And you know, I hate for it to be that because it's like, in a sense, when you're trying to show appreciation, unfortunately, there are people out there who try to commodify your culture as well. Like, there's no reason why, like, African sponge used to cost me $4 at my auntie's store, but now I go on Amazon at $16.
Yeah.
So it's like sometimes I want to gatekeep so I can keep my pockets right, but I know like I should be sharing. But it's like it definitely has its downfalls of like again inflation. Like even we were talking about Dirty December. The prices. Whoever went to Ghana, shame on you during December because there's no reason why it's $3,000 to get a flight to Ghana in December. But you know, it's like stuff like that. It's like it's crazy. Like even like I will say this: when I saw people going to Ghana, I was happy. I was happy. I loved seeing the celebrities, the Black people, all types of people going to Ghana. You know, did it hurt that I had to try to pay $3,000 out of pocket to get to my own country? Yeah, but I don't know. It's like again, it has its like upsides and its downsides as well. Awesome. I know my auntie. My sister. She owns an African store in Dayton, and I'll be sitting in the store, you know, just watching it, hoping nobody steals. It's usually old white people that I gotta deal with, right? And there's always an old man who walks in the store and it's like his eyes are so big, right? Versus like a Black person, in a sense, like they're kind of like a little scared in a sense because they don't know what's going on. Like this is brand new to them, but this is also a part of them. And you know, like there'll always be like a 15-year-old girl like walking up the aisles, up and down, and she'll be like, can I use this on my skin? I'm like, yeah, that's shea butter, girl. Go ahead. Oh, okay. What do I use this for? Oh, well, in Ghana, you know, we usually use it for this area. And she'll be like, oh my God, okay. Well, okay, I'm gonna come back with my friends. I'm like, okay, yeah, y'all can come back 3, 4, I don't care, as long as y'all bring me my money.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's so fun watching them explore their culture. But of course, I'll have those little a-hole kids who'll come in and try the African mask and, you know, do little dances, and of course I have to go grab like a broom and say leave, like, you know. But it's like I don't know, it's hard to like how do you guys differentiate someone like in a sense like their approach to your culture, like having like their intentions to it in a sense, like can you tell like when someone asks you a question that may sound dumb to you but like it comes from a place of innocence versus someone who asks you a dumb question coming out of a place of mockery?
Yeah, I think you have to actually like have more experiences with the person to know.
Mm-hmm.
Because some people, like, you know that they're genuine because of the way they've acted in the past. Like, you know that they're just very much interested in, like, what you have to say. And then rather than some people just want to see your reaction out of it, or so that sometimes they want to just see, like, what you're going to say, like, as, like, entertainment.
But I would say that, like, if you were a stranger and you came up to me and you're like, "Oh, so in Africa, did you play with lions?" I'm gonna say yes, because why would you go out of your way to literally not even think logically? At that point, you're not making any effort to get this thing working. So
that's when they're just trying to mock you.
Exactly.
At that point.
Yeah. Because when you ask certain questions, you should just right off the bat know you're just trying to be ignorant. And there's a certain person that, like, maybe they ask a stupid question and they're not trying to be ignorant. That's fine, but you can tell what they say afterwards. Because if what you're saying to me after what you just asked me doesn't light up, you gotta go. Okay, you're just trying to be disrespectful. At that point, I have every right to be disrespectful.
Yeah, I feel like when I get asked, "Oh, you're from Ghana," I'm like, "Yeah." Be like, "Oh, I've met a bunch of Ghana people. Do you know this person? How am I supposed to know this person?" Like, there's a bunch of, they'll be like, "There's a lot of Ghanaians in Ohio." I'm like, "Okay, I know there's a lot of Ghanaians in Ohio. There's no way I will know each one of them." So like,
it's even worse when I'm like working and then someone like, well, like I have an African necklace, so I wear that. They're like, "Oh, where you from?" I'm like, "I'm from Ghana." They're like, "Oh, my doctor's from Kenya." I'm like,
yeah, another country.
Okay.
Nice to know.
My sister's doctor's from Kenya.
Like my sister's dog's cousin's brother.
They try to, like, relate to you.
Yeah.
"Oh, I just met a guy. Yeah, his family knew somebody from Africa."
I feel like, but I really do feel like that comes from, like, they're as ignorant. It seems very innocent.
Yeah,
I feel like they're really
innocent.
not trying to be mean. It's more like I guess they're appreciating that they're being exposed to more Africans. But the way they say it sounds like a stupid response. Like,
I be don't know what to say.
You ask a white person, like, "Oh, I'm from Alabama." "Oh, I met someone from Alabama too." Like, how would they react?
No, the thing is, I actually do that to make them uncomfortable. Like, I will be drunk. I'll be under the influence. And I'll be having a conversation with, like, especially someone of this complexion. And, they'll be like, "Oh, yeah, I'm from Mississippi. I know 2 people from Mississippi." And it's like, they'll be like looking at me like I'm crazy. They're like, "Okay, yeah, I think what city? Oh, I'm from Jackson." They were from Jackson too. Wow. And they'll look at you like you're crazy, but it's fun to do that because it's like sometimes you gotta, like I said to that, the suggestion to our 15-year-old girl, if they ask dumb questions, answer with stupider answers. Thank you. But yeah, for sure. Like, do you guys ever feel like, in a sense, like you're kind of singled out, and like a certain like sense of like knowing your culture? Like, as someone who, again, like I've been here for like, again, half my life. Sometimes, like when I meet other Ghanaians who are, again, fresh off the boat, like I'm going through an interrogation. "Where are you from?" "Oh, I'm from Accra." "Okay, where in Accra?" "Jamestown." "Jamestown, okay. What streets?" "We don't have streets. I'm by the Red Pool." "Okay." It's like stuff like that.
They really go through that extent just to really ask you all of those questions,
and just to make sure you are actually Ghanaian. Like,
are you?
Like, at this point, you might as well pull out like your birth certificate, and just show them the identification. Yeah. But it's like crazy to the extent because, again, it's like I think it's a comfortability for them. It's like they need to know they're in a comfortable space, so to the point where they're asking you like a trillion questions to prove that you're Ghanaian or even African enough.
Yeah.
For what?
I don't know.
For what purpose?
I don't know if you guys have ever kind of gone through those series or like drilling questions of like, "Where are you from?"
I don't even get that far because I was born here.
As soon as you say you're born here, the conversation obviously just ends.
But like, I'll meet some Ghanaian people to be like, "Are you Ghanaian?" I'm like, "You'd be like, yeah, I can smell Ghanaian from a mile away." I was like, "Okay." Like,
smell.
Like, they're like, "Yeah, I knew you were Ghanaian from a mile away." I was like, "Okay." Like, when I see a bunch of like African, I cannot tell them apart. There's some people like, "Okay, this person kind of looks like a Nigerian," but for like a Ghanaian, it's like hard for me to be like, "Oh yeah, this person is definitely a Ghanaian." But like, when I'm like, "Oh yeah, you're a Ghanaian," I'm like, "Okay, I'm Ghanaian." Okay, like, you can stop now. I know.
You can stop.
I'm not gonna lie to you. When I am under the influence, I tend to do that. Why I keep bringing this up, but I tend to do that a lot because it's like I don't know. When I can tell a Ghanaian, it's like from our cheekbones, from our eyes,
From the eyes.
I can
The
always
nose.
tell.
It's the eyes.
Yes, a lot of Ghanaian women.
What is with the
They have
eyes?
very
Oh,
I
it's
don't
the
know. There's
eyes.
nothing specific, but our eyes are very distinctive.
We're sexy. We have sexy eyes.
We have
That's
sexy
it.
eyes.
Yeah.
I get compliments on my eyes
all the time, as you should. And it's like I don't know. It's so fun to be like, are you Ghanaian? Because I do get excited myself too. Because don't get me wrong, I get bored with my friends. I love them, but I get bored. I'm like, okay, I want to meet another Ghanaian.
Yeah.
And I sometimes do become too excited to the point where it's like they're like chill out. Like for example, like they're just like chill out. And it's like I feel like it comes from like the idea of like excitement.
I do love to guess where someone's from. I'm not gonna lie. Like I like playing that guessing game. Like you can tell me you're from Africa. Let me guess. Let me guess where you're from. Usually I guess right too. I'm not gonna lie.
I feel like my nose is like getting better and better the older I get. Like, but if you ask, like, I hate to say it, it was so weird. So I was like hanging out with my cousin. She goes to a HBCU, and you know, she had told me something ridiculous, but she was saying like, Debbie, she was like, you look East African. I'm like, no, I don't.
You know what?
We're not gonna do that. We're not gonna do that. We're not gonna even Gifty actually.
No, because I can see it. I can see it.
But I said
It's the nose.
No.
It's the nose.
Guys, I'm telling you.
It's the
No.
nose.
If I tell you we take a DNA test right now, I'm gonna come out 100% Ghanaian. Like I'm telling you.
We believe you. We believe you. But now that you say that, I can see both.
I can actually see it. I actually see it.
But you know, if I went up to like a person who was African, I'll be like, hey, where am I from? They'll be like, oh, you're West African, right? I'm like, yeah, I'm West African. Now she was cheating because she went to Black people and she was like, where do you think she's from? And they'll be like, Somalia. And I'll be like, okay. And it would just be a different range. Someone said South African. I was like, okay, I'm not blessed with the bunda like that, but thank you. But it's like, I don't know, in a sense, it's like when you become African, it's a fun game to play. Like it is, especially if you know where they're from. It's like, even like being in America, I can tell what state someone's from. I don't know if like anyone ever kind of plays that game.
Yeah. Like from accent, maybe like
from accent.
I can know a New York accent just because I've been there sometimes.
But it's like fun because it's like I feel like sometimes the overexcitement can come off as like, in a sense, like an insult because we'll ask you some dumb questions. Like even in my state of influence, I've asked some very dumb questions. And it's like, it's, in a sense, it's like, I would say with the differentiation, it's like, the way I kind of do it is like the frequency of the questions. Like, what kind of questions are they asking? If it's like common sense questions, like, of course, I'm not going to be fighting a giraffe in my house, right? Versus it's like, oh, like, what did you guys like wear? Like, did you guys have uniforms? Like, why do you guys shave your heads? Like, questions like those are not offensive to me.
Yeah.
Like, I remember like this lady in the store like went up to my mom when I first came here and she was like, I'm so sorry. And mom was like, for what? And she's like, your daughter. And mom was like, what are you talking about? She has cancer. And I'm just like, and my mom is like, she doesn't have cancer. And she walks away. But like questions like that to me are like innocent. I hate to say it.
At least she was sorry.
But like questions like that, in a sense, is like, I don't find offense to them because it's really coming from like, I've never seen this before. Like, I really just want to know why. But like, is her approach the best? No, you shouldn't approach people and ask their kids if they have cancer. Don't suggest
it's the
that.
same way as like walking up to a big person and saying, "Oh, you're pregnant. How far along are you?" Like, excuse me. Disrespect.
I know we've been talking about like Black people and African people, but like kind of like segueing into like Black people and Caribbean people. Like, do you guys ever? I don't know if you guys have like people who are from the islands or other like diasporas besides like being Black. Like, would you describe our relationships with them?
Well, recently, Ohio State, they have African Night, and they started including Caribbeans into their thing. Some people, there were some mixed reactions. I think some people were like, why is there Caribbeans in here? But I love it because I feel like you can really see the connection between like the diaspora. Like you can see that how they're African in their own way, you know what I'm saying?
No, for sure.
Yeah. Some people don't claim it though.
Gifty, not to call you out or your the conversation we had earlier about the Jamaican.
Oh. Yeah, so the Jamaican was not born Jamaican. The Jamaican was born Ghanaian.
Oh. The Jamaican was born.
Jamaican claims to be Jamaican. So with that being said, this person that I'm talking about, that I'm not gonna say their name because hi, you're probably watching. But yeah, so this person I grew up with claimed to be Jamaican all through high school. Ever since I could know him. Yeah, mind you, same mother, same dad. You know, different last names, but my brother.
Oh,
My brother is what I'm.
Wait a second. Wait.
No.
She never said that.
She never said
that. Wait, cut it out. Cut that.
No, my brother was what I would call him.
He was
That's
like
what I
a
would
brother
call
to
him.
you. He was like popular. Like,
Yeah.
he was like a brother.
He was your brother. So I call him brother. But yeah, he claimed to be Jamaican. For how long? God, I don't even know. He's probably still claiming to be Jamaican to this day. To this day. But yeah.
What's crazy is that like I've seen a lot of like Ghanaians fresh off the boat with the Jamaican flag in their bio. Like that's something I see a lot, and I don't know why.
I'm so glad I don't know any of these
Yeah,
people.
I never
Right.
found these people.
That's crazy.
No, because I know a couple people, I hate to say it, but like a couple people I know who like tried their best to stray away from the continent of Africa, even though they're black. Like, yeah, you know, I'm from the Bahamas, I'm maybe like 15% Native American, but I'm not black. I'm not like African or anything. And they'll be like my complexion. And they'll look me in the eye like I have no ties to Africa.
You and I are not the same.
Not me, not even close.
Not
Right?
even- not even close.
And it's like in a sense, I don't know. It's like I feel like it kind of is like that idea of like Caribbeans. I feel like, and again, I'm not trying to compare struggle with struggle at all,
Right.
but I feel like Caribbeans have an easier time integrating into American culture. One, I think it's because of the proximity of the countries and like the islands, but also I think it's the idea of like proximity to whiteness. Again, like with the Caribbeans, even though they were colonized by the Spaniards, we were colonized by the British. Oh, like even when we were talking about like they were colonized by, I think the Spaniards, we were colonized by the British. It caused like in a sense when we separated from the British, we separated everything culturally from the British. We even in a sense I remember like Ghana's parliament, like they restricted English for a little bit during the time of our separation just to get our culture back. Versus like the Caribbeans, like they kind of still kept the same like Spanish, like they kept some cultures from their colonizers, in a sense leaving them to have a proximity to whiteness. And I feel like a lot of people are more open to Jamaican culture than they are to African culture. Like I've never seen a YouTube video of someone spitting out oxtail and calling it nasty the way they do it with African food. So like I don't know what are your guys' opinions?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Kind of adding on to that, like I feel like a lot of like the island culture has been more welcoming towards African Americans than African culture, because again with the history of like slavery and the biases that our African parents have towards them. I don't know if it's similar or to like the islands. I can't speak on that, but it does seem like they're more welcoming towards African Americans than Africans, I guess, like from their perspective.
I also feel like it's a perspective thing in terms of culture. Like no one thinks of Caribbeans and thinks of struggle. They think of like exotic. Like no one's thinking, when people think of Africa, there's still type of like, oh, there's people struggling, oh, it's this and that. But like with Caribbean, they have more of a positive, I think, vacation islands, that type of thing. So, yeah.
No, I definitely feel you on that. And I even think that even like beforehand, people are more frequent into like visiting the islands as well, checking them out compared to like Africa. Like just recently, everyone went to Africa.
Yeah,
for the
it's a
first
new
time.
thing. Yeah.
But if you were to ask like white kids, Hispanic kids, all of them, they're like, we're going to Jamaica for the summer, like stuff like that. So I feel like they do get to like introduction of Jamaican culture closer than they do from African culture.
Right.
Do you guys feel like, in your sense, do you guys feel like we have a better relationship? You kind of mentioned it again, like that better relationships between African and Jamaicans compared to like Black Americans. Like, do you guys like feel like there's a certain reason why we do, in a sense?
Because I guess they're foreigners too, in some sense.
Yeah.
So we both have that kind of mentality, or we all kind of know that we're leaving our homeland in a sense. So we all have that mentality that we know we're coming to a unwelcomed place, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's where we kind of like have that common.
What do you think is like that kind of like clash between us?
What do you mean clash? In a bad way or in a good way?
Not clash, but more so like that intersection between us, like those like immigrants, like from a different like Black diaspora in a sense. Me? Don't mean to call you out. But like I don't know, like when I kind of think about it, I feel like again, like you said, like that immigration experience definitely plays a factor. But I also feel like it's also like the foods that we share. Like I'm always arguing with a Jamaican, like, by the way, it's called plantain. Say it with me, plantain.
How do they say it?
Plantain.
Like mountain.
It's just their dialect though, right?
Yeah.
It's their dialect. I'm correct. I'm
They
not.
said it wrong,
We have another comment. How do you guys deal with society on the part of cultural differences between being in Ghana and doing something contrary, things accepted in the States or in the diaspora world?
We first?
I'm sorry, I read the comment a bit fast, but how do you guys deal with society on the part of cultural differences between, especially being in Ghana and doing something contrary to things accepted in the States or in the diaspora world?
I think I can give an example. Here, it's acceptable to use your left hand to give out drinks or whatever, but go to Ghana and try and hand somebody with like your left hand. Oh, you're done. So I think here it's acceptable, but like going Ghana, it's not really acceptable to use your left hand to do anything at all. Except to what? Your butt.
Keep interrupting you.
You're good.
But I definitely agree with you for sure. Like even I would say an example for me would be staring. Like in Ghana, we can stare at you and it's normal. Like it's like it's not in a disrespectful way or anything. It's just simply they will stare at you. And you can get into a staring battle with them.
No, straight there. Eye contact. Let me tell you. Eye contact.
But you can't really do that in the US because someone's gonna try to run up. Hey, don't be looking at me like that.
Oh yeah. I think another thing would be eye contact. Like here, if like I'm talking to you, I want to make eye contact. But like in Ghana, when you're talking to another person and you make eye contact, it's like you're not being disrespectful. You have to like look down when you're talking. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry, you guys. Another commenter said Dominicans say I know black. Like, I know black. I know black. I know black.
I have a Dominican friend and she'd be like, I'm not black. I'm like, so what are you? Like
what are you?
Right? What are you?
Meanwhile, they're darker than me.
And it's like, again, it's like, it's crazy like that. Like, do you guys have any like experiences of things you can do in Ghana, but when you bring it from outside of Ghana, it's like, you can't really do that. I would say also another thing is getting my hair braided outside. Like, I don't know about y'all. I love getting my hair braided outside because one, I feel like it's refreshing. Like I'm out in the open. We're getting everything is done. Like it's not getting messy inside. Like it's normal. But now if I do it in my neighborhood that I live in currently, they're gonna call the police on me. Like I'm pretty sure those white people will call the police.
I feel like you can walk around in your cornrows and it not be ghetto. In Ghana, like it's fine.
Yeah.
And then if I do it here, people are like,
Get your hair done.
yeah, like,
Girl, what you doing?
What are you doing?
I feel like one thing that was missing was like the word please. So when
I think Ghanaians overuse the word please. They overuse it too much.
I'm sitting here and I'm just thinking the amount of time that I said the word please in Ghana. When I came here and I like, it doesn't even make sense to translate what you're saying into English. It doesn't make no type of sense. And they don't deserve it. You know what I'm saying? Like please after every single sentence. But I get it. When I'm talking to my mom or somebody back home, I switch up. But when I'm talking to somebody here,
English.
Please, my name is.
Please, thank you.
Thank you.
I would also say, like, in a sense, like smacking the lips, like,
Yeah.
like every reaction. If someone says, and like one time my teacher called me out, she's like, Debbie, is something okay? I'm fine. Like,
That's something that's universal though for the diaspora. Black people do that as well. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I have a black friend. Whenever I do it, she'd be like, "Just stop doing that." Like, but like it's just like I do it out of habit. Like I just do it right there when I'm get like frustrated and stuff like that. There is a comment on YouTube. This lady said, "Okay, ladies, going back to the language, how cool would it be when you go everywhere and you can just want to talk to like among yourself? It's not last to learn. It's not last to learn your language and your auntie from far. Like it's not hard to learn your language even if you don't know how to speak it. I think.
Love you, auntie.
But I don't think it's hard if you don't even know the basics. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's definitely difficult if you don't even know the simple basics. So,
But I think understanding the treat's good too. At least if I cannot speak it, I think I understand it enough to just have an English and Tree conversation.
I feel like people who are fluent, they don't. I mean, they might claim like, oh, I'll speak Tree with somebody who doesn't understand it, but like my mom will get bored after 5 minutes and switch back to English, or she's like, anytime I'm like, oh, what does that mean? Then she's like, oh, you asked too much, you know what I mean? Like, people don't speak it. I argue with my friends who speak Tree all the time. If I'm there for 5 minutes, I'm like, why haven't you spoken Tree yet? Like, nobody wants me to learn.
Nobody wants me to learn.
Nobody really.
I think they're tired. Like they just don't want to. They don't want to be. They don't want to teach nobody.
If you're tired, then just stop complaining about it.
Yeah.
Either teach us or don't.
Or leave me alone about it.
Yeah.
So what she meant was that it's not too late to learn your language.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I agree.
I know that.
I totally 100%.
But sometimes it's difficult because, like, again, like being at home, my parents, they don't speak Tree to me. They speak English, or like sometimes they mix it, but I already know those phrases. Yeah. But then if I'm around like my college friends that understand Tree, they're not gonna take the time to translate it for me. They're like, oh, she doesn't know. Oh, she doesn't speak Tree. Like they're not gonna. So it depends on the environment I'm in. But like again, I do understand that it's not too late. So sometimes I go out and like look for resources that have like Tree translators, and like there's not many out there, but the ones that are out there, they're helpful a little bit, but I think the internet should do a little bit better on that.
No, I definitely get you. I feel like I'm still trying to learn Tree itself. Like I've been trying to listen to music like to the point where it's like my entire playlist is like filled with sakare. Like I'm just like listening to his album. Like what did he say? I'll even go on like Spotify the lyrics.
I do that too.
Like,
I do that too.
Take the time to learn it.
Yeah. And it's like I'm learning it. Like don't get me wrong. Like opecho. Like I know we're not. What is that? I'm not even gonna start with that. But you know I'm still learning it.
What did you say?
And you know it's like I'm doing my thing, and it's like definitely like again like having that like language is kind of like I hit like a sword in a sense, like something I can carry really strongly with me. So I am gonna try to learn it before I have kids. And I'm not embarrassed at daycare with those kids again, and I can actually speak to them for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still learning. There's certain things that my mom says, and I'm just like, what? You know what I mean? Like I feel like she starts off slow, but lately, the past few years, she's been giving me difficult words that like I don't even knew that existed. Like the words for colors. Like different colors that I didn't even know.
There's colors.
Yeah, words for colors. Yeah. So I didn't even know about all of that. So I'm still learning. I'm still definitely learning.
I would even say like looking up like even in terms of like even speaking the language, I would say like getting closer to like Ghanaian culture itself. Like literally we were talking about Amazon and like also like Jeff Bezos, highly disappointed in you. There should be no reason why we have 2-day Amazon shipping when I am paying for my 1-day Amazon shipping. But I ordered like Kwame Nkrumah's book. I think it was like Cohencism. It was basically talking about a lot of his theories on government. And you know, even reading that, it kind of gave me the insight like into the Ghanaian mind. Because again, like he was like a great political leader who again, a lot of Ghanaians look up to, and they have a lot of his similar thinking. So I even think like looking into your culture. Now, am I saying read every book from your culture? No, but like doing research, it really does help you like enter into your culture specifically. Even though I know a lot of us were raised in a Ghanaian household, I feel like it's different from our household than different from being inside. Like I know Amy and Elsie, like we were like kind of talking about when we go back to Ghana, we're going outside, right? We're like, because you can't be like in the house. Because like when we first got to Ghana, in my experience, when I first got to Ghana, especially coming back, my parents and my like family would keep me inside, like inside
like prison.
Like you can't go out, you can't even walk to go get like, food. Like it was crazy, and it's like in a sense, it kind of helped, like, caused me to get a shift because I'll be in the country, but I'm not in the country. And I'm not living the way my peers are living, right? And, like, I feel like we were all talking about, like, when I go back, I'm definitely outside. Like, I'm not coming back to the house.
Exactly.
But, like, how do you guys kind of feel? Like, when you guys go back from your own experience, when you guys, or, like, last time you went back to Ghana, like, how was your experience in, like, integrating into, like, Ghana or, like, the Ghana culture?
Well, I guess kind of speaking on that, again, like I haven't gone back to Ghana and experienced Ghana as a grown, as a young adult. But when I was a kid, I went when I was 15, when I was 8. When I was 15, my mom took us to all the historic sceneries. Like I went to Cape Coast, I went to the Kwame Nkrumah Park. And I really appreciate that she took me there because it kind of got me to like see like the historical culture of Ghana. But then the next thing I want to do is experience the, you know, the youth culture of Ghana, because I only got to experience the Ghanaian culture being raised in America. I want to see how it is in Ghana. And I'm not necessarily talking about just the parties and all that, but just even just being social with them. Like I want to be able to experience that because that's my culture. I just haven't been experienced in it.
It's a beautiful thing being around a lot of Ghanaian young people. I'm gonna tell you right now, like I love that experience just because you guys, it's things you can relate on and it's things you can talk about. And even if I don't speak to you fully, like when you guys say something true and it's funny, I'm gonna laugh. No, I love it though. I've been to Ghana, I don't know how many times, but I've been in my young adult life and I can say like after leaving the house, like I've been able to like experience a lot of things and I actually love it there. Like I always say I love going there.
No, I definitely get you on that. Like it's like it's different being around your peers because it's definitely like that switch of mentality and mindset. Like because you know how everyone has like a different friend group. Like okay, there's certain things I can talk about and I know you guys can have a good discussion. Other things I know I can't. It will just lead to nonsense. And it's like I definitely feel like like really trying to get into like grasp with your peers, understanding them for sure is like definitely like a big thing too. Like, I don't know if you guys saw that video on, like, I don't know if it was on Worldstar or, like, the Shade Room, but twerking for the ancestors. Like, I don't know if y'all seen that.
Oh, wait, who?
So, but no, there was a group of ladies who went to Cape Coast. And while they were on like the castle, they were twerking
in Cape Coast,
and it was like a quick video
on
the actual castle.
Yeah, in the castle, in the slave dungeon.
Our generation.
Are they African? Like,
they were. I think some were Africans. One of the girls was African, but most of them were Black American. And like they were saying, twerking for the ancestors. And if you look through that comment section,
so disrespectful.
We tore them apart, right? And, you know, of course, there were Black people saying, like, well, this is why we're scared to go to the culture because you guys cheer us for everything. Don't come into
Whoa. And there's about you.
So you're going to go to the cemetery and twerk?
Why not go to your dead homies' grave and twerk for him?
Go do it. But, you know, like, they were saying, like, this is why we're scared to, you know, at least, like, show up because you guys judge us for anything.
But you're disrespecting.
Yeah.
So, like, how would you guys, like, I know, like, you were talking about it, like, how would you, like, kind of, in a sense, like, react to that?
I'd be pissed. I'd be upset. You know, that's disrespectful. It's something that my mom, her mom before that, we stand for that. You know what I'm saying? The whole country was literally representing him. Like, you have no idea what he does for us and still does for us. You know what I mean? So for you to disrespectfully do that or in any type of way disrespect, like, our culture or anything like that, intentionally, not like sense, I just feel like it's childish. You know what I mean? It's ignorant, and I just walk away because I can't really do much about it that will let me back home and not in jail. So I just gotta stay put because I came here for a reason. I'm not gonna go to jail because somebody wants to act stupid and say ignorant stuff.
100%.
Are you mad? My mom is self-land to bring me in.
No, I get you. I feel like personally, like you guys are right. Like you wouldn't see me shaking yash on Martin Luther King's
right. I was really gonna say that.
Yeah, but like please just like it's like again, it's like the respectability of it. Like if you are trying to explore someone's culture, again, like mockery versus like appreciation. It's like again, please don't go shake yash in our public places. We beg. Those comments ripped those girls apart. Like the Ghanaians, I think it was even like Nigerians, they were ripping the girls apart because again, they were saying it's disrespectful. But yeah, I don't know. It's like in a sense, like in general, and then to summarize, like again, do you guys feel like there is ways that we ourselves as Ghanaian people can explore Black culture? Because I know, like, again, like, we've talked a lot about Ghanaians exploring, not Black people exploring Ghanaian culture, but what about Black people, Ghanaians exploring Black culture?
I think we need to start with our parents.
Educating our parents.
Yes.
I mean, as hard as it is to kind of change their minds, you know, parents, like, once they get old, like, what they think they're set on, it's hard to change their mind. But it's good to educate them a little bit, because that's kind of what helped my parents kind of steer away from the heavy types compared to how I was when I was younger. Now, like, if my mom sees me, like, my best friend is African American, but my mom loves him. Like, you know, she, like, back then she would have been like, stay away from him, they all bad. But, like, it just takes some, again, it takes time and adaptability, and you got to kind of tell them a little bit, like, hey, they're not like this, we go to school with them, and just kind of be exposed to culture. And also, like, things that we could do ourselves, like, just participate in the things that they do. Like, a lot of the Juneteenth activities, like, when I was younger, like, I would be like, oh, well, I mean, I'm not Black, I'm not gonna really participate. But, like, as I've gotten older, like, just educating myself on that just, like, kind of gives me, like, an openness to their culture, and I appreciate it as well.
Anything for, like, suggestions, especially for people who are, like, again, fresh off the boat teenagers who are trying to, you know, merge themselves into American culture? Like, any suggestions of, like, ways to, like,
find yourself a good friend.
Yeah.
Find yourself that one person, whether Black, white, whatever it is. There's gonna be somebody out there that's gonna be willing to, like, accept the fact that you're in an uncomfortable situation and you're in a place where you're out of place. There's gonna be somebody that you just gotta be patient and, like, keep your head up.
Yeah,
It's not gonna be easy.
Yeah.
I would also say, like, your school's Black spaces.
Yeah.
Maybe stop avoiding them, because
Yeah.
like,
Please.
like, there's people to socialize with. There is other Africans there who you can
Yeah.
socialize with, and like, once you like meet people and socialize, it definitely can like open your eyes a lot more.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know what keeps them from going there, honestly, but I feel like you should just go there. They're chill spaces.
Yeah.
I would definitely recommend, like, trying out the food. Now, I'm a foodie by heart. I love me some Southern food. And I would say, like, introducing yourselves into the food. You don't need to go up to a Black person and ask them to cook for you. It doesn't work like that. But, you know, like, going on Google, searching up local soul food restaurants, or I would say even watching movies that actually appropriate Black people in a better light. So, like, I know, like, BET was also one of the ways that I was also, like, kind of, in a sense, like, placed into, like, African American culture a little bit more subtly. Like, I love, like, actors and actresses like Gabrielle Union, Monique, like, you know, like, they made Black, to me, being cool, you know, instead of me coming back from home and having these negative stereotypes. So I would definitely say, like, changing your media that you're watching about Black people, trying to immerse yourself with their food. Even I would say, like, step out of your comfort zone and go to a Black church. Like, them Black churches be busting now. Like, if you think the African aunties are doing the most when it comes to the pasta, imagine those Black ladies on Sundays, right? So I would say, like, definitely, like, putting yourself out there. I know it's hard. It's easier said than done, but trust me, it'll work out in the long run. Any other suggestions, ladies?
Yeah, I just want to say that whatever they're going through, either bullying or whatever, just know that somebody else somewhere also went through that, and you'll get out of there. Like, just a matter of time, you find your footsteps and you'll be out. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. In today's discussion, of course, at the end of the day, the Black diaspora, we shouldn't be having wars and battles. Rather, instead of you know, kind of pointing out our differences, we should celebrate it. And we shouldn't separate ourselves, but rather we should create a unity among ourselves. Thank you so much for tuning in to Thoughts Expressed. And please make sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I know this has been a long live, and you guys have been sitting with us and talking to us, which we greatly appreciate. And again, one more time, thank you from me and these beautiful ladies. And we will please join us back next time. Bye. Bye. Mr. Will?